Okay, this will be a new recording for lesson 6, which the audio was broken. Okay, I'll just go over quickly what we did in lesson 5. We'll do a short Gemara and I'll show you some terminology. So the Mishnah says that if someone was walking in the street and he trips over the jug that was placed there and the jug breaks so he doesn't have to pay for it. And the Gemara asked, why shouldn't he have to pay? You should look where he's going. So the Gemara gave us 3 answers. And you can see them over here, 1, 2, and 3. The first answer, we said in the name of Rav that he couldn't get through, and the whole Rosh Hashanah was filled with barrels, and therefore he was allowed to break it. Shmuel said, second answer, said that it was dark, and Rabbi Yechanan said that it was around the corner. So both Shmuel and Rabbi Yechanan were cases where it was a mistake, he couldn't see, and he doesn't have to pay for the kad, which means the pitcher that he broke. Because the person shouldn't have put it there, and you can't claim that he should have watched where he was going because he did the best he could. So Rav Papa told us that the Mishnah doesn't fit well with Rav. It fits fine with Shmuel and with Rabbi Yechanan, but not with Rav. And the reason why, he said, is because the Mishnah said that he tripped. And according to Rav, where you couldn't get through, you would be patur even if you went and deliberately broke it. So why does the Mishnah have to say that it was a mistake? It must be that like Shmuel and Rabbi Yechanan's pshat, that it was a mistake that you tripped. Okay, so Rav Papa said that was Rav Papa's question. If I said Rav Zvid, no, Rav Zvid is the one who answers. It's Rav Papa that asked this question on Rav. So Rav Zvid gives an answer. He says that the reason why it says that you tripped was not for the beginning of the Mishnah. It said tripped, but that was because we needed to say tripped in the end of the Mishnah. In the end of the Mishnah, we were talking about where a person got hurt by this pitcher that was in the road, that the owner of the pitcher has to pay for the damages that it caused. So we said that he only has to pay for those damages if the person tripped by mistake. However, if he actually went ahead and smashed it, he broke it. So then the owner would be patur because the person hurt himself. The Gemara's expression over here is hu da'azik anafshei. You see that right there. Hu da'azik anafshei. Okay, so therefore, because in the Seifa it has to say that he tripped, so we said in the Reisha that he tripped as well. But the truth is, like Rav said, that even in the Reisha he could have went ahead and broke it deliberately, and he would still be patur because he couldn't get through. Okay, so that's the outline of what we learned so far, and I just want to go over some terminology, then we'll go further. The terminology I underlined it in this color blue, and I put it on the side as well, so we'll just go through. Imagine that we didn't have the inserts yet. I'm just going to go through the outline. The Gemara says, the template of the Gemara. The Gemara says that our Mishnah is not accurate according to such and such an opinion. It's only accurate according to this opinion, and that was loy deka, which means it's not accurate, it's not precise. Ella, only according to this. De'ike, because according to that, I put de'ike z, I just put in z, but we're referring to Rav. According to that, so we have a question. My area, which means why specifically, or area means comes from the Hebrew ma'ura, which means attached, like ma'ura begidden. So why do you grab onto my area? Why specifically say such and such a case? Afilu, something else, nami, even if it would be something else. So the Gemara says, hu adin, the same law would apply in that other thing as well, in that other case. V'hadiktani, in this that we said, this and that first thing, I did the boile misne because we had to say in the Seifa, let's say, so Tananami, so we learned it also in the Reisha. So this terminology is very common in the Gemara. It's a template of the Gemara, and I put it in over here. You just fill it in. But you could divide it into 2 sections. This my area, why specifically this? Afilu, it could be something else also, nami, and then the Gemara answers that question with hu hadin. The truth is that the same law would apply in that case as well. But why did we pick number A? That was because we needed A for something else, so we said A in the Reisha as well. Okay, it's just a common Gemara terminology. Okay, we're going to start now with Amalei Rab Abba Rav Ashi. So Rab Abba tells Rav Ashi, Hachi Amri b'Marava. This is what they said in the West. In the West is Eretz Yisrael because the Gemara was in Rab Abba and Rav Ashi were in Bavel, which is probably Iraq or something. So west of that would be Eretz Yisrael. So Rav Abba tells Rav Ashi, this is what they said in the west. Mishmei de Rab Ula, in the name of Rav Ula. There's another version here that it's Rabbi Loi. And Rabbi Loi, I assume, is a Tana, which is the father of Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi, who's Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah is always Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi, not Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. I'm sure you know that. So this may be his father, if that's the opinion. And he says, Lefi she'ein darkon shel bnei adam l'spainin b'drachim. Lefi she'ein darkon, because it's not the habit or the way shel bnei adam of men. Lehispainin means to concentrate. I try to write that in on top. B'drachim, on the road. So we had a question before. Why is he putter? If he breaks a pitcher in Rosh Hashanah, he should look where he's going. So in the West, they said that that's not a claim that you should look where you're going. And if you don't, then you're negligent. That's not true. People normally do not look where they're going, and therefore you're always going to be putter if you break something in the road, if it wasn't supposed to be there. People don't normally look where they're going, and we don't consider that negligence. So let me just clarify. These answers that we said before, in the name of Rav, in the name of Shmuel, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, these were all saying that you're always going to be chayiv if you break something in Rosh Hashanah. You're going to be responsible to pay for it, unless you have a specific case where there's an exception. And those exceptions were if it's either full of barrels you can't get through, or it's dark and you couldn't see, or it was around the corner and you couldn't see. But every other case, if you're in something in the middle of the road and you walked by or you drove by and you broke it, you're going to be chayiv. Unless it was at night, was around the corner and you couldn't see it, in those cases you would be putter. But in a regular case, you would be chayiv. Comes along Rav Abba and tells Rav Ashi that in the West, they said in the name of Rab Ula that people don't look where they're going, they don't concentrate on the road, and therefore they're always going to be putter. And we said that this is actually the halacha, that if someone breaks something in the street, which wasn't supposed to be there, he's going to be putter. I'll explain to you shortly that those answers that we said before are still relevant in a specific case, even though we don't paskin like that, but they are relevant. Okay, Havi Uvda ben Ardoi, there was a case in Ardoi, v'chayiv Shmuel, and Shmuel said that the person was chayiv. What was the case? Obviously something broke, and Shmuel said that the person had to pay. Okay, chayiv Shmuel. Shmuel said that the person's chayiv. B'Pumbedisa, there was a case in Pumbedisa, v'chayiv Rava, and Rava said that you're chayiv. Now, Nardoi happens to be the city where Shmuel lived. Shmuel said that Nihirin li shvili de rakia keshvili de Nardoi. He said that I know the roads of the heaven, which means the galaxies, the astronomy, as well as I know the roads of Nardoi. That was his city. You know, it's the north of Bavel. Pumbedisa, which is probably slightly southeast. And v'chayev Rava. It's probably Rabba. There's another girsa that's Rabba. Rabba lived there. Rava was in Mechuzah, I believe, or in one of the other cities. So, but it doesn't matter. Rava said that you're chayev. So the Gemara says, Bishleim Shmuel. We can understand why Shmuel says chayev kishmaite, because he goes according to his lesson, to his teaching. What was his teaching? That you're only going to be pater if it's dark. But if it's in the middle of the day, you're going to be chayiv. Ela Rava, but Rava leima kishmuel svirale. This is in a question form. Leima kishmuel svirale. Does he hold like Shmuel that you always going to be chayiv? Svirale is. I'll write it on the side so it's not a. You'll see what it. Svirale. He holds like Shmuel. Which means that normally you're chayiv if you break something in the road. So Rav Papa answers, Karna da Atzrahavi. Really, Rava holds that you're always going to be putter if you break something in the road. And that's like we said in the West, that you're always putter. People don't look where they're going. If they break something, it's not their fault. No one looks where they're going. The person shouldn't have put it there. But this was a special case. This is Karna. This is the corner da Atzra of a press, of a Beis Habad, is an olive press. The way the olive press would work is that people would come and drop off their, they would put their containers on the side, and they would press their olives, and then they would use their containers to fill it up, and then there would be a line, and the next people would come. But outside, it was like a loading zone, and there were all the containers were there. And therefore, in such a case, the person does have to look where he's going. There's just a lot of containers over there, and you have to watch where you're going. And therefore, it's his fault if he broke something. The kivan de b'shuska avdi, because there's permission to put your containers there, and that's what everyone does. So he should really look where he's going, and it's his fault if he broke something, and therefore he's going to be chayav. So I mentioned that we're going to say what these earlier 3 reasons why a person is pater. How is that relevant? Because we said that in the West, they said that a person is always pater if he breaks something in Rosh Hashanah, if he breaks a pitcher, because people don't look where they're going. Ein darkan shel bnei adam lesbainin bedrachim. Nevertheless, these answers before that we said it's either the entire Rosh Hashanah is filled with barrels, or what Shmuel said that it's dark, or Rabbi Yechanan said that it's around the corner and he couldn't see it, that only in those cases you're pater, which is not the halacha, you're always pater, but those cases are still relevant. If we go down here to Karna Da'atra, we put it right over there we said that you're chayev because they had to put it there. They had permission to keep it there. However, let's say it was at night, or let's say it was around the corner, or let's say it was entirely loaded up and there was entirely full and you couldn't walk through. So then you would be pater even by karna da'atra. That happens to be the halach in Shulchan Aruch. If you look in Siman Taf Yud Beis in Choshen Mishpat, that there is an exception to the karna da'atra, where karna da'atra is the olive press where you're chayev. I'll write down over here, olive. Where there you're chayev, but you would be pater if you had one of those exemptions of either Rav Shmuel or Rabbi Yechanan, that it was dark around the corner or you couldn't get through. So some people think that maybe if it's not the final halacha, so it's not relevant. It happens to be that those answers which are not the final halacha are still relevant in the final halacha. Okay, we'll stop here.